This is a presentation about rhythm games for my AP Lit class. I'll be going over my history with the genre, the different rhythm games I've played, pros and cons of the hobby, and the community and culture surrounding them. Let me give a sort of background to these games. The genre officially started with Parappa the Rappa in Japan, making Japan the initial creators and probably the most successful in the rhythm game genre. So what defines a rhythm game? Anything that involves performing some sort of action in relation to music. There are different rhythm games which should all be played differently, on your computer, on your phone, or at the arcade. So where does my story begin? We begin with Osu, a rhythm game where you click circles to the beat. This game is probably the most popular at the moment, according to a survey done by Osu students themselves. I'm sure many of you have come across the game through TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram. Playing it is simple. You move your cursor to the inside of the circle and you click it. Sometimes there's even a slider where you hold it, or a spinner where you spin it. Yeah, this game looks pretty easy. I bet I can do pretty well.
Oh my god!
Yeah, like all rhythm games, the beginner's difficulties are relatively easy, unless you're one of these games. However, as other games came out, I became more attached to them more than I was to rhythm games. I occasionally played Osu when my other friends would play, not as consistently. For a good 3 years, I was pretty dormant. Thanks to this 2-week break that dropped in 2020, I somehow became interested in the genre again. I came across Sound Voltex, an arcade game released by Konami's rhythm game division, Beatmania, in 2012.
Chat, look, you have the knob on. Look at this, dude.
Sound Voltex's gameplay is similar to that of piano tiles. There are 4 white buttons, and then at the bottom there are 2 orange buttons, and then there are 2 knobs at the top. That's what makes the gameplay unique and exhilarating to play. The next rhythm game I discovered while at the arcade for the first time was WACCA, developed by Marvelous in 2019. Unfortunately, the game entered end of life in 2022. This game features a 360 touch panel where you hit the sides of the machine whenever a bar meets the judgment line. This game is surprisingly easy to get into, and even the hardest charts aren't even that hard if you can slam your hands fast enough and have an idea of where your arms go. The next game I played is another big name in the rhythm game genre, Beatmania 2DX, which is probably the first game of its kind, being in the arcade, and the forefather of future rhythm games. 2DX is probably the most complicated game to get into because of its confusing interface and its rather difficult gameplay. You basically play however you want to play with the help of guides and some skills developed over time. Despite numerous hand-based rhythm games, there are also plenty of feet and dance rhythm games that you've probably seen. The biggest name is DDR, which features a simple 4-panel stage controlled by your feet. You probably look goofy trying to play this at Dave & Buster's, because I'm sure I did. This game influenced other games like Pump It Up, In the Groove, and Stepmania with very similar styles. Going a step further into the dancing genre, we have titles like Dance Rush Stardom, Dance Around, Dance Evolution, and Western titles like Just Dance. I'd love to get into these games, but unfortunately I suck at dancing and I have no stamina. And I also don't want to look like an idiot in front of other people. There are also rhythm games which capitalize on instruments. The first to do this is Gitadora Guitar Freaks and its spin-off for the drums, Drummania. While you might be familiar with things like Rock Band and Guitar Hero, they actually come after Beatmania's Gitadora. 2 other drumming games are Taiko no Tatsujin, a game that revolves around the traditional Japanese taiko drum, and Music Diver, a futuristic drumming game with 8 different hit areas. While most rhythm games are played at the arcade or computer, titles like Archaea, Figros, and Minora can be played wherever you are. These games being on the phone allow for focus on things like story modes, daily missions, and quests. The best part, microtransactions. Finally, there are other games I played that I'm going to skim over due to time: Tunithim, Chrono Circle, Ongeki, U-Beat, Musica, A Dance of Fire and Ice, Geometry Dash, just kidding, I know this isn't a rhythm game, but I'm pretty cracked at it, and Piano Tiles. So what are the pros and cons of getting into this hobby? Let's start with the cons. It is expensive. Buying controllers, paying for credits at the arcade, subscription services, and the gacha systems all cost money. Spend wisely. Other con, it can hurt if you play too much. Thankfully, I could take it. Pros, you look badass while playing in public, and playing is fun, so that's a pro. Now that I've talked about every rhythm game I've played and the pros and cons of the hobby, I want to shift the focus into the community of the game. The rhythm game genre received a lot of popularity through its transition into esports. Mostly being held in Japan, things like the Konami Arcade Championships and the Beatmania Pro League allow for skilled players to compete against each other. In other games like OSU and its game modes, players from around the world compete in the OSU World Cup in order to prove which country is the best at OSU. There are also competitions for the music side of things that encourage community interaction. The BMS of Fighters is an annual competition where teams combine music and visuals to gain community votes on which submission is the best. These songs are then repurposed into various rhythm games, the main game being Beatmania inspired games that read these B-music source files. You've probably come across some BMS works before, so here are some cool examples. So why do a presentation on rhythm games as opposed to other genres of video gaming? As opposed to other games, I've never not liked playing rhythm games. Other multiplayer games often left me mad at my teammates or at the game devs for a terribly balanced game. Rhythm games have none of that. The only person you can blame is yourself. You can't abuse a broken character to get good or cheat your way to the top. You're only as good as you are, and that's what I love about it. With this, I'll be ending the video and my final senior presentation. Thank you for watching.